tell him about the time we faced.
All right. Well, as I remember.
At Avenger headquarters.
Because united, the Avengers are strong.
Welcome to the Marvel Evolution Show with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Straub.
Excellent. It's good to be back, guys. It's good to be back. We've got a busy evening or afternoon ahead of us, haven't we? We've got 2 episodes coming up today. This first one, we're going to talk about Miss Marvel and the week's news and whatever we've been doing in regards to Marvel stuff, collecting or reading. And then we've got another episode straight after this, which we're going to go into Thor Love and Thunder review. So obviously that's a little bit spoiler-esque. We're going to have to be careful with that one if anybody's watching live. But before we get there, how are we doing? Alex, how are you?
Good. Got a couple new Funkos this week.
What you got?
So I got this one. This is actually the only one I've unboxed, but it is this awesome Doom. It's part of the Monster Hunters collection. And I'm not a big fan of those, but I really like the tentacles coming off behind Doom and everything like that. So,
turn him round.
let's see if I can.
Oh yeah, nice. So yeah, he's got is that what is that? Oh, it's wings or something, is it?
Yeah.
It's almost kind of like Cthulhu is kind of what it reminds me of, like some kind of like tentacles almost coming off him. But yeah, I really like that one. I was like, I don't even really like these Funkos, but that one's really cool. I gotta get it, so I bought it.
I came up with a great idea the other day. You know, I said a couple of weeks ago that the Spider-Man in the Civil War set that I had the detachable shield.
Mm-hmm.
All I want to do now, I came up with this idea. Somebody posted it on a group I'm on Facebook that they'd got this set, and I said, "Oh, it was in the box?" And I was like, "Oh, did you know that the shield is detachable?" And obviously, they hadn't taken it out of the box, so they didn't know. And they was like, "Oh, wow, that's amazing!" And then I was like, "Yeah, you could even put it on other Funkos." So now I'm like, a light bulb went ding, and I'm now like, right, that's it. I want to just put the shield on every Funko that I've got, so that I can see everybody holding caption.
Ever since you told me that, I've wanted to unbox mine just for that very reason. But I cannot bring myself to unbox it for some reason. So
here we go. So live brainstorming session, Alex and Jaren, to be fair, because obviously you're a Funko collector, but this requires probably taking them out of the box. Something I've seen, and it's not my idea, I've seen it on other groups, but a new feature that we could do on the Facebook group is guess the Funko. So take a really close-up Funko, picture of the Funko, like here.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, right up by their eye, and see if you can guess what Funko it is. I've seen it on other groups. Yeah, like that, yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Like that.
Yeah. I thought that'd be a really cool idea. But anyway, yeah, I haven't bought anything new this week. Jarian, how are you, mate? All right?
Yeah, doing good. I did get some new Legos this week, but they're not the Marvel ones. I've strayed from the path, and I'm waiting for the Sanctum to drop next month. That comes out the 1st. But I did get the new Loop Coaster, which is pretty big, and the Haunted Mansion as well. So it's part of their theme park series. I haven't put them together yet. But yeah. But here's another idea. Could work on Lego minifigures as well. And
yeah, that's Jamie.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to unbox those, so I can pull some of those out.
Yeah. Well, before we get into... Sorry, Alex, go on.
I was just going to say, did you end up getting that Joker set that you were telling us about?
The Joker Mansion with the coaster? Not yet.
Yeah.
It's used now, so it's not, you can't buy it anymore new. Mm-hmm. So, well, you can still buy it new, but you have to buy it from, resale or that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's probably going to be my next one on my list is that Joker Mansion, along with the Lowrider from the Batman movie. The Joker's Lowrider. Cool. To put those together. But, yeah, so I can kind of round out my different buildings. Because I have the Ninjago City one. What else did I get? I got a couple other ones. They weren't Marvel ones, but there were some of the along those types. The Lego movie, Apocalypse. The city with the Statue of Liberty. I have that one too. So I'm just like, you know what? I kind of want to collect a few of these and kind of build them together. Plus, I can use that Statue of Liberty to kind of make like a No Way Home type Lego view as well. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, nice. Just saying hello to our MC. He's there. He's working on his truck and turning a wrench apparently. But he's there. And hi, Jamie.
Okay, I figured that was him. His name didn't come across today though.
And we see you, Jamie. Yeah, so talking about other stuff, I tell you what, I've gone back to. Well, I say gone back to. Well, I've gone back to read it. I just hadn't read it before. Was the original Sin storyline, and it was. I don't know how it evaded me. If I'm honest, it just skipped past me. I'd read a lot of stuff before, and I read a lot of stuff after. And I'll tell you where it first came into my mind was when I was trying to find out how Thor, well, not trying to find out, but when I was reading the Mighty Thor in preparation for Thor, Love and Thunder, and was working out how Thor became unworthy of Mjolnir. And it came from something that Nick Fury told him in Original Sin. So I was like, oh, okay, so I read about that bit. But I went back and I'm reading Original Sin, and it was Jason Aaron who done the God Butcher storyline. It was his first kind of big sort of storyline, big sort of crossover, and it's really cool. I mean, I'm a sucker for a big crossover and a big event type story, and this is a really good one. It's really interesting. It involves the Watcher, and it's a really cool sort of murder mystery. Lots of sort of twists and turns, but it's a great little read actually, and it's not a very long read. And it involves lots of different characters.
Teams. Yep.
Yeah, lots of different teams in the story, and that, I think that's what kind of, for me personally, what I quite like, those kind of little pockets of teams that are working towards a common goal, but they've all got their own little story and they all come together at the end. I quite like that kind of storytelling. It works.
I actually have the stack of those, the actual comics, in my basement. My son's always eyeing. I'm like, do not touch those.
But really cool story, and I kind of know how it finishes, because like I said, I've read stuff afterwards. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody that wants to read it, but how it finishes, even without reading it, knowing what happens, it's going to be awesome to read. And it's not far off of what could potentially happen in the MCU in some, in the sort of, not necessarily short term, but at some point I wouldn't put it past the characters that do what they do in the story to do what they could do in the MCU, But good story to read. Original Sin, Jason Aaron's first crossover piece. Very good. I'm enjoying it very much.
Do you think that line that Nick Fury says could have impact in the MCU? Given don't go too much into it. Just give me like a yes/no answer. We can probably expand on it in the next episode.
No.
Okay, I didn't think so either. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say too much, but if I hadn't have already seen Love and Thunder, I might have been different. But I'd say no.
Yeah. Same page.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what I've been reading this week. Okay, so should we go news? Should we go news to start with?
Yeah, news. I got a lot of news, and then we'll get into Miss Marvel. So I'll save the Miss Marvel news for the end, so you can transition as usual. But top of the list in the news this week is San Diego Comic-Con. So there was all that stuff back and forth. Will Marvel be there? Will they not be there? Is everything going to be safe for D23? Well, they're going to have two big panels there, and one's going to be on Friday, July 22nd, for about 90 minutes by Brad Winterbaum, Marvel Studios head of streaming, television, and animation, alongside visual development head Ryan Mindering. Well, basically, they'll talk about the animated side of things, and that's going to be X-Men 97, Marvel Zombies, and What If Season 2. There'll be special guests there as well, and these will be first looks at those projects. So we're finally going to get when X97 is going to drop. What If Season 2 is rumored for the end of this month, which is right after SDCC panel will happen, and then we never got anything on Marvel Zombies other than it's going to happen at some point. So they also will tease more that is coming as well. So that's the Friday panel. There will be a live action panel on Saturday evening. And from what I gather, Saturday will be a mega panel. The description says Marvel Studios president and producer Kevin Feige and special guests provide an inside look at the ever-expanding Marvel Cinematic Universe. Deadline goes to say that according to them, it will be a Marvel Studios Hall H panel. Will make very big waves with its upcoming new movies, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. So we'll probably get a trailer then for Wakanda Forever, and Disney Plus series She-Hulk. but it will keep some powder dry for D23 in September. So I'm going to go ahead and say I would not be surprised if San Diego Comic-Con also gives us the director for Fantastic Four, and we get the cast at D23. That's my guess with all this.
I'm interested to see more about that animated side,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't until I saw I wasn't bothered about the animated side of things when they announced What If, whatever a little ago. I was kind of a little bit nonchalant about it. I was like, not that bothered. Then after watching What If, especially the sort of end, there was 9 episodes, wasn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the sort of end 4 or 5. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the first ones as well. But when those sort of last 4 or 5 episodes all came together, I was like, I'm really looking forward to seeing more of this. So actually, I'm really excited to see more about the animated side of the MCU. I guess it is the MCU, isn't it? But whatever they're producing, I'm excited to see it. I don't know what you guys feel about the animated side.
I have a thought after Alex. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, honestly, I think when they came out with What If, I think there was a lot of anticipation over, are all these episodes going to connect or not? And, we kind of get to the end, we're like, okay, this is an anthology series. Mm-hmm. So now, kind of like going forward with the next few seasons, I don't think they need to make every episode that way, where they all connect in the end, they can kind of do that. I mean, they kind of tied everything all together in that finale, but like we said before, I love this for backdoor pilots, for movie shows. Like, it's a great way to introduce new ideas. Like, I mean, I would even do an episode like Cosmic Ghost Rider or something like that. Like, just throw something like a curveball out there, and you don't have to give that a movie, but you can do some fun ideas with What If that are kind of completely different, that don't really have to mean anything in the main MCU.
And it's also been said that we're going to see Phase 4 projects and characters come into What If Season 2. So Black Widow, Kate Bishop, Yelena, Shang-Chi, Miss Marvel, all these Phase 4 characters, they said that will start making appearances in What If, and so they can play with things. But I think also, too, is from the conversation we had the other day, Alex, I think this is how they're going to bring X-Men into the MCU.
Yeah.
Because, they said specifically that Professor X, it was the theme song from X-Men cartoon when he came in. So could he be from the X-Men 97 universe? 1. 2, they did fall through a cartoon universe in Multiverse of Madness. So what if this is a way to kind of say X-Men versus the Avengers type thing because of what happened to Professor X in Multiverse of Madness?
So I just had a really, really cool idea when you said that. Like, so obviously Patrick Stewart came. Let's say he did this. That's the universe he came through. He came through as Patrick Stewart. How cool would it be if they came through and they were still cartoons?
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
It'd be like Space.
Yeah, we get that into there. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah,
you get cartoons versus real people in the MCU. That'd be quite funny. Sorry, I just had that thought when you said it.
I feel like they're doing that with the cartoons for the X-Men, though, to like softly prepare us for like them coming from the multiverse almost, in a way, like kind of like, oh, here's like another version that you've had before that's really similar, but we're going to give you another version, live action from the multiverse,
like for example, there's no Avengers in the X-Men universe. They are the Avengers of that universe. Just like there's no X-Men in the Avengers universe, and that's how they clash through maybe an incursion or other thing happens, maybe.
So I mean, they could even do something really cool where, like, moving towards like a Secret Wars event, everybody gets pulled from a universe. X-Men get pulled from theirs, Avengers get pulled from theirs. Everybody's all together. Then reset everything at the end and put them all in the same universe.
I like that.
Exactly. I've just started watching Umbrella Academy season 3. I don't know if you've watched it. And again, I won't say too much in case other people haven't. But there's that kind of, some things didn't exist at that point in the same world kind of thing. That idea, I like that idea that, and it also plays on what Carol says. I know it's obviously not different dimensions, different planets, but Carol said, not everywhere had Avengers to protect them, sort of thing, So I'm not saying it from a different planet, but as you said, from a different dimension, different universe, realm, whatever word we want to use, timeline, where Avengers didn't exist and X-Men were the ones that came through. I think that makes good sense, actually.
I mean, with the two other Spider-Men, we already saw them ask, like, wait, Avengers, like a band, like, like they had never seen, the Avengers in their universe. So,
And speaking of that, X-Men could have came from one of their universes also,
yeah,
because they had no Avengers. So there's multiple ways they could bring them across into the Avengers versus X-Men, or do a one-off of one of them and start building around that. So
Yeah, sure. Hi, Roxy. We see you.
Next piece of news. We know that Kevin Feige said that the Phase 4 theme and going forward would kind of start coming into the fold, and we start seeing some things, and once they got some announcements out and so forth. But producer Richie Palmer has said 100% because Phase 4 is all a reaction. And I don't mean on our part as filmmakers, I mean the characters. It's a reaction to the trauma of Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. We're still feeling those effects in these movies years later. So right now it's reaction.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to think what if there's anything that hasn't really been a reaction, but everything has, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously Black Widow wasn't, but that was set beforehand. But pretty much everything else has been.
The closing credits of Black Widow going into Hawkeye was a reaction.
Yeah, that's true.
So it did tie at the end there. But yeah, they should have made that movie years earlier. Anyways, so there's been some talk about Julia Louis-Dreyfus on Val's future in the MCU. There's a lot of mystery in terms of her background, and whether she's a good guy or a bad guy remains to be seen. She's sort of living in a gray zone, and I like the idea of a female mastermind. I think it's about time, by the way, not to get too political on anybody, but I'm all in favor of it, and I'm delighted to be able to do it myself. And the one thing that's really fun is sometimes you think maybe she said too much, and then maybe it seems as if what she said was intentional, and she wants you to think that she said too much, but she didn't. It's all a plan. She's about 3 steps ahead of everyone, and that's the gobs of fun to play. So this is Nate Moore saying this. Basically, she's taking over for Nick Fury. So, it sounds like probably Invasion will be the last we see of Nick Fury, and that's when we start probably seeing, Val doing more. Because he also went on to say is the Countess Valentina Allegra de Fontaine is a character that has a rich publication history, and to some degree, figuring out who can fill those shoes, which in our mind is in a way taking the reins from Nick Fury was tough. But we thought of Julia Louis-Dreyfus. There was a fun energy to her that immediately you realize the person has a weight and gravity, but they're not the same as Nick Fury. It's a completely different energy. There's a snark to a character that I think sets her apart from what's come before, and yet you still feel like she commands the room. If you're talking about a new leader to some degree in the MCU, we're very lucky to have Julia Louis-Dreyfus. So there you go. It does sound like that she'll be taking the reins over. We don't know in what capacity, but there you go. And maybe that starts through the Thunderbolts rumored project coming out. We've already seen that through Black Widow. We've seen her in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So where's she going to pop up next?
Fury's never out of the game, though, is he?
No.
He has never been out of the game in 60 years.
It always pulls him right back in.
Yeah, it does, and he's always there in some capacity. He always knows what's going on. So as much as I get your point, Jaren, about what you're saying about Secret Invasion potentially being the last we see of him, I don't think that will. It might even be the last we see of Samuel Jackson. They might spin it with a different Nick Fury.
Multiverse,
Yeah, exactly. Or
LMD.
Yeah,
that's LMD Nick Fury.
Yeah, I mean, come on, how have we been this long without having LMDs in there?
Yeah,
it's been 14. No, it has been 14 years, 15 years now coming on, and we haven't seen an LMD yet, apart from in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We did there, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. I think back to Age of Ultron, where Fury pops up and helps pull all those people off of the city as it's falling, and they're like, this is what S.H.I.E.L.D. does. No, this is what it's supposed to be, type of thing. And that was kind of Fury was sort of out of the game in that moment, and Fury just pops right back in,
With
and
all
it's all right,
Yeah,
oh, and also show him we brought War Machine, so I don't know, that's just kind of how Fury is, he always kind of pops up when you least expect it.
Or do you see after Secret Invasion the Fury role for that piece. We still have JLD going forward as Val, but Nick Fury, his ideology kind of flips into Maria Hill because they could go that route too as well. Also with that role.
Yeah,
they should definitely have. I was just gonna say they should definitely have her challenge him, and there be like sort of like a rivalry there. And I think it would be cool if they did that and have her actually be Vernecki, and like secretly be a Skrull and do that secret invasion
I can see
thing
that too.
Yeah,
I was going to say we need to get Maria Hill more fleshed out. She needs to be more badass. She hasn't been given that opportunity. I don't think. You see her in the comics.
In the comics and the cartoons.
Yeah, that's it. You read her in the books, and you're like, yeah, she's got something about her. And in the movies, she's great, and I love Kobe Schmolders, and it's great. But she's just seemed a bit, I don't know, I don't want to say. Yeah, I don't want to say. I was going to say lackluster, but I don't want to say lackluster because that sounds like I didn't like it, and she was rubbish, and that's not quite what I mean. But she's just not quite had that same edge that she's had in the comics, has she?
You kind of want to see her step into the way Coulson did, but you haven't seen that moment of her doing that yet, of being a Coulson type.
Yeah,
like polite but stern and firm. Like Coulson was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to be moved, but I'll do it with a smile on my face," kind of type of person. So,
or even just the presence.
Yeah.
Multiverse of Madness news. So Baldur the Brave was going to be the 7th member of the Illuminati. Costume designer Graham Churchyard. We got very far designing Baldur the Brave, and when we were waiting on casting, I took it to a prototype stage. We were kind of in the design thing, getting fabrics together and ideas, waiting for an actor. Then he goes on to say, poor Baldur the Brave. He almost made Thor 1, 2, and 3. If I can simplify that, then it's just like, yeah, he's going to get an appearance. Poor guy. I've seen designs from Marvel's archive book of Baldur's helmet going back to Kenneth Branagh's Thor. So he's been a long time waiting, and I don't think he's going to make an appearance anytime soon. So that's kind of a bummer, because they can do a lot with him in the MCU.
Yeah. Keeps falling short at the last hurdle, doesn't he? Poor Baldur.
Yeah.
And I feel like the further they keep kicking the can down the road, the harder it's going to explain where's this guy been,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he's just Thor's missing sibling, like Hela, that we haven't known about this entire time. Yeah.
And then speaking of other things on Mom, producer Richie Palmer on Illuminati in the main MCU universe. The Illuminati has been a group we've wanted to introduce in our movies for years. They're a secret organization that works off the grid. They do the things that the other groups like the Avengers wouldn't be too happy about. To do an alternate universe in the multiverse was a really exciting thing because we get to meet a version of this group in this other universe, and then we still might get to see an Illuminati of our main MCU one day, which is very exciting. So it looks like that whole tease we saw with I think Tony Stark in one of the Iron Man movies, and then also looks like with Namor coming in, and we have Doctor Strange. We still have Black Panther, but they could have a new Black Panther, so we still could have a main proper Illuminati in the main timeline.
I like that comment about the fact that they will do what the Avengers wouldn't do. I think they say it in Multiverse of Madness, don't they, about the making the hard decisions. I think that's what Captain Carter says. She says making the hard decisions, making those kind of make or break type moments. And just sort of committing to it and just saying we're going to stick with this decision, and that's it. We're gonna roll with this.
It's like 180 from what we've seen with Cap the whole time with the Avengers.
Look at what they did with Strange. I mean, they basically killed him and then told everybody, "Oh yeah, he's the hero." He died fighting and everything, but it's one thing do the other kind of.
Yeah, but they have always been like that as well, though, haven't they? In the books, they've always done things like that. They've always kind of worked in the shadows and not necessarily been as brash as that, like outrightly lied and said, not lied to the public. I don't mean it like that. Do you know what I mean? But they've always made those big decisions and then gone, right, that's it. We're done. But interesting.
A lot of egos in that room, a lot of ego in that room. So you can light a city with the amount of egos in that room in the comics. So.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder whether we'll get a slightly different version because there was all heroes basically, wasn't there? On the Illuminati that we saw in Multiverse of Madness. I wonder if we'll get some villains in an Illuminati.
Like Doom, maybe.
Yeah. No more.
Yep, and see how they do him, and if he's gonna be a villain or anti-hero, or if he comes, turns hero in the end of that movie. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'd like to see him stay as that kind of, as that villain, but not. He's not really a villain, is he? But he's not an anti-hero either. He's just. I wouldn't put him. I wouldn't cast him as an anti-hero. He's just an arsehole.
I wonder if they're gonna have him come across Sue Storm and be like, "I'm getting that for sure." Because in the cartoons and the comics, when he sees Sue Storm, he's like, "Boom, I want that." I wonder if they're gonna put that up in the MCU once we get Fantastic Four, because he's all about Sue Storm once he sees her.
Yeah.
Some Loki news. Season 2 set photos tease 70s era, and one of the set photos shows Marvel fiction or movie posters of Kingo. So another thing there with Eternals, Zaniac and Phone Ranger, which is both Zaniac and Phone Ranger are obscure comic characters. You have to go deep in the Marvel comics for those guys. While also showing real life posters of Herbie Rides Again, Airport 1975, and Earthquake. Loki, first look presented by Flag back in 2019, did feature Loki outside of a movie theater in the 70s, New York, but never made season 1, but it looks like they're going that route in season 2.
I love this Kingo thing.
Yeah.
I'm loving this Kingo thing. I hope they just continue this forever. Like every time we get a flashback for something, there's just a poster of Kingo in the background. I just think that's brilliant. I love the idea. I really do. I think this is brilliant because he was so funny as well, wasn't he, Kingo in the Eternals?
And his valet.
And his whole demeanor with that whole kind of, he was so confident, weren't he? And he just sort of laid it on so thick. And obviously we've got the little reference in Miss Marvel, and I'd love to see that, like just little posters of Kingo throughout time.
Yeah, I still wonder how they're going to tie the Eternals into the fold, and we'll have a discussion about that too with Thor in the next session, because there's a tie there. But Jessica Jones, Disney Plus title and episodes has been changed to AKA Jessica Jones. So when you actually go into the episode, it's there, but the landing page still shows the original name. I don't know if that's foreshadowing something, but there's been a lot of rumors lately that there's some ties there from Echo, and that we could also see her in the Daredevil series also. And there's more steam about Kristen Ritter making a comeback in that role.
I didn't know much about Jessica Jones from the books, if I'm totally honest. I mean, obviously, I know what AKA means, also known as, I'm not stupid, but did it mean anything different in the books? I don't know.
I don't think so. She's mainly a private detective. Her and Luke Cage hook up. They have a baby together.
That's right.
She's part of Defenders and Heroes for Hire, run-ins, all that kind of stuff. So, so there is some stuff there. This is Jamie's talking about Jewel here in the chat.
Sorry, hold on.
But yeah, I actually have some of her stuff I need to read too as well.
It. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I know basically what you just said there. But what do you mean, Jamie? Elaborate, please. We request elaboration. Carry on.
Yeah, Echo news. Speaking of Echo, so the rumor is that James Clement on Daredevil and Jessica Jones in Echo. So he goes on to say, yep, Daredevil is in it for 3 episodes, as in Charlie Cox. Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio is in 4. The Kingpin storyline is building up to him running for mayor of New York City. Apparently, he's going to be wearing an eye patch because he was shot in the head in Hawkeye. Daredevil is going to be rocking a red and black suit and is looking for Jessica Jones and everything. Oh, her other name, Jamie says. So Jewel is her other name.
Yeah.
Is what he's saying. Okay. But yeah, so, and that's what I've been hearing too, is that we're going to have the gang back together in this one, but not Jessica Jones in it, but more of a mention or tie that Daredevil's looking for her. So they're laying the groundwork to bring back Kristen Ritter, most likely, not necessarily in the series. So yeah, there you go. I don't know in terms of continuity, like, is the Charlie Cox version the same one, even though we obviously saw him in Spider-Man? Is he the same one from Netflix series? Sure, why not? But I don't know. But it seems like some of the Netflix stuff, with probably the exception of Iron Fist, is going to be making its way. Which also what I heard too is that everyone's coming back except for Finn Jones, and Michael Coulter is still up in the air. And everything I'm talking to, this is gonna be a soft reboot, so there might be some references, but it's not really a continuation, but a soft reboot of those stories. After that, later in the week, we did get official reporting that Charlie Cox and Vincent D. Onofrio will be back for Echo, so it has been confirmed too as well. I'm going to go through a couple things real quick here since we're getting at the top of the hour. The next one, Sam almost received an upgraded shield from Wakanda in Falcon the Winter Soldier. I'm not going to go too deep in the quote on that, but he almost got a new tech piece there where it had some more tech powers from Wakanda. James Gunn on Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It's fantastic. James Gunn just watched a rough assembly the other day. I called him yesterday. We FaceTimed, and he's very proud of work that everyone's done. He said it's the best thing, the best work all of us have done. He feels very, very confident. The script was amazing. And I can say with utter confidence that he's made a true masterpiece, and I cannot wait for people to see it. It's James Gunn. He did all 3 movies, which is really rare and special in the world of box office trilogies. And that was, I believe, Chris Pratt on Gunn. On the holiday special, James Gunn did confirm via Twitter there'll be a new awesome mix for the holiday special. So look forward to that. Far From Home, the timeline in Japan for Disney Plus, move it down to after Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Remember they had that 8 years later jump?
Oh, yeah.
So they moved it in the timeline. Yeah, Marvel still hasn't addressed that little time jump thing there, but Japan Disney Plus has. They moved it down after Falcon and the Winter Soldier. She-Hulk, Tatiana Maslany on the show. She's really just the antithesis of most superhero narratives. There's this great element of denial in her that's relatable. For me, it was about rejecting what's happened for as long as I could, as that's what causes the fun tension between Jennifer and She-Hulk. Feige on Spider-Man universe with Sony. And yes, Marvel's Kevin Feige does weigh in and offer some notes on Sony Marvel movies that don't feature Spider-Man. One insider credits Feige for guiding Sony's approach and warning the studio not to get too ahead of itself in terms of building some larger universe. So there's a warning there.
Yeah, don't do too much. We're going to get them all back. That's basically. Is that what you're saying?
That's just what it sounds like. Speaking of Sony, Madam Web does cast Mike Epps as well. And every time I see them add some big names to the cast, I keep thinking of Wong and Strange and In-Game. Is that everybody? He's like, you wanted more? So it seems like every week they're adding new people to the cast. And the last piece of news is on Captain America 4 before I transition to Miss Marvel. Nigerian-American filmmaker Julius Ona, perhaps best known for helming the 2018 thriller The Cloverfield Paradox, will direct the 4th installment of the franchise for Marvel Studios. So that's the general news, and now we can transition into Miss Marvel. I look some small news here, and we can talk about this episode. So Aramis Knight, who plays Red Dagger, Kareem, he talked about his future. He said, "I would love to see Kareem's training regimen. I just think that he'd be super interesting. He comes in as a hero who is powerless, so to be able to keep up with these people who do have powers, he has to train every single day of his life. And I think seeing parts of that, seeing things that he does to become the superhero that he is, I think the world will be super interesting. I also would love for people to meet Kareem's family. Even more of that. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's one thing for these people like Nat and Clint to be hanging around with these guys. These are. I mean, obviously, Kareem's had some training, but one thing for those guys, they're like super spies, and they've worked for Shield and they've worked for the KGB or whoever they've worked for. But he's just a kid, and he's trying to, like you say, he's going to try and keep up with these people with superpowers. So yeah, that'd be interesting. I agree with him.
He also went on to add, even more than that, I become a great ally for Kamala, and in a way, I become somewhat of a mentor, in that she's a newfound superhero to someone who's kind of worked his whole life with this organization. There's a lot for her to learn from him, and I think I do take on the mentor's role a bit. Although there's also the banter, the bit of flirtation. It kind of plays into it, I think, as well. Which in the comics, he does end up through an exchange student program come over to Jersey. They do have team ups, that kind of stuff. So if they do a season 2 or expand on the story, I could see that happening. And then director Charmin Obad-Chinoy, I'm hoping I'm not butchering the name, teases more reveals teased out about the clandestine. I think you have a lot left to uncover about who these people are and what their desire is and what they want to do. I will say this, that it was so important for us to sometimes look at villains as people of circumstances, and that not all villains are black and white, that there are shades of gray in that. I think with the clandestine, there's a lot of gray, which I agree because they just want to go home. So, and that's all the news.
I'd go back on that point about Kareem and that sort of flirtatious type of relationship that they've got. I was explaining what Miss Marvel was to a casual Marvel fan the other day who's got a 15-year-old daughter, and the person was a casual Marvel fan. The daughter's not really into it, and I said, "Oh, try Miss Marvel." I said, because she's a teenage girl who's struggling with all the teenage girl things, and again, you look at it, she's got sort of three boys who are all kind of interested in her in a way, hasn't she? So she's still got the same problems that teenage girls have, and also throw it in the fact that she's now got this Miss Marvel bangle problem going on as well. So I can see that, that point, like what he's saying, that little relationship that they've got built up there. But yeah, anyway, into the episode. I thought it was a decent episode, and I just want to point out that we actually called that, didn't we? We called that, and it's very rare that I call anything. I'm rubbish at this kind of stuff. Alex seems to nail them all the time, and I was like, I got it. I was like really excited. I was like, yes, I knew it was going to be her. So I was really pleased when we saw Kamala actually save a Nan. And we said that sort of predestination, that sort of Harry Potter and the Patronus thing, and it had that feel to it, didn't it?
Yeah, I've really liked how earlier in the earlier episodes they talked about how there was no picture or anything for her to remember what her great grandmother looked like. She couldn't show her family, So Kamala takes that picture back and gives her a picture of her whole family together, to her grandmother. I thought that was a really unique and cool kind of thing they did there in that episode.
Yeah, I love the line once that her mom found out that Noni, her grandmother, said, "I told you our family's magical." And the whole time, it's like you saw that time loop of her, the whole thing happen. The stars that they said that she was crazy about, that they were there. She saw them. It was kind of an emotional episode, and with all that, seeing the history of the family. But yeah, a couple things there during that sequence of events, right? Is Aisha a red dagger? Her great grandmother, because she had that dagger, the same that Kareem throws and the red daggers throw, that she threw
right
when she was trying to escape the British in the beginning.
Did she start the red daggers?
Yeah, exactly. Is there any tie there? That's what I'm wondering, because I was like, my first thing is like red daggers when she did that. So that was interesting.
Maybe. I mean, that would tie in again to this kind of that time jump element of it. She set it up. They're still there now. Yeah.
And then back to the whole phrase, "What you were seeking is seeking you," which we saw that again, because didn't Aisha tell the husband that, or did he tell her that?
Not only that, I think, but it was also carved into the bracelet, was it not?
Yeah, but I think I don't. Yeah, but I see why I looked at that was that I think he told her that, and then I think that then got carved into the bracelet because of what he'd said to her. Like she kind of, I don't know, magically put it carved into the bracelet somehow. I don't know.
Like when expanded kind of thing, it kind of that kind of went in. Maybe that's what did the time loop right there, was that saying. Yeah,
yeah, maybe. So. Yeah, but yes, I'm pretty sure it was him that said it to her, wasn't it? But that was quite a nice relationship, and another little montage. I love seeing a montage. I just can't stop it. But the little montage of their relationship, building through time. But interesting how she was really scared of what's her name? The clandestine Namja. Yeah. Really scared. Like scared to the point where she would like risk everything to make her. I mean, obviously there was other things going on with partition, etc., etc. But she was, as soon as she saw her, she was like, "That's it, we're going."
Well, I think it stems from before Aisha met the husband and had Noni, and that kind of stuff. I think she was all Team Nanja at that point, wanting to get home. But once she had the family, saw what's capable, something beautiful came from that relationship. I think that's when she didn't want to leave. She wanted to stay there, but she may have also, because she also told Namja too that it won't work. So maybe she found more out that we don't know about yet, that we might see next episode, or what we saw at the end with the veil and what happened with the veil at the end of the episode. Maybe she saw something like that happen, and that's why maybe she knew that it wouldn't work.
And what about Cameron? That was where's he? I thought at first he might have been sort of possessed, but I think he's still himself, isn't he? But
yep, he has powers now.
Yeah,
I
feel. Yeah, I almost feel like when his mother touched that thing, it's almost like her essence went and traveled inside of him. Is kind of like the connection I got because his powers like activated in that moment. You know, so I kind of feel like, and I hate to say it like this, but I feel like we're gonna have one of those like showdowns in the next episode between those two, and it'll actually be his mother that takes his body, and it'll be one of those like. He's the child that's also like tethered to this world like Kamala because maybe he's got human lineage too.
Yep.
So
it could be a showdown between those two, or it could be a showdown those two being allies versus Department of Damage Control.
That's true
as well.
Too.
So
but will they
go either way?
How will they? What is that? What was happening there? Like Alex said, was that Namja's essence that had sort of gone into Cameron? And if it has, where's that going to go? We've only got one episode left. I mean, obviously, I know we've got forever to resolve problems, but that's not going to and the damage control thing is not going to get resolved in one episode, surely.
Yeah. So interesting to see how they wrap this up. Do they help? Does they end up helping him escape and go into hiding, or do something, or they actually have a showdown? Is Cameron going to blame Kamala for his mother's death? Because he said, "Hey, my mom killed your great grandmother, so you killed my mother as revenge," type of thing. Where she didn't, because we did see her sacrifice herself to close the veil because they saw what was happening. And speaking of what's happening with the veil, Terrigen Mist vibes in that scene, right? That was definitely looked like Terrigen Mist vibes, and they were trying to seem like they were trying to do that the reverse way, or not the reverse way, but the same thing. When you're not an Inhuman, the Terrigen Mist kills you. And I think that was similar to the look they had, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or even in the comic books, with the death of that from the veil.
I don't think that it was a coincidence that we saw a Black Bolt in Multiverse of Madness, and that this has come around at this time. I'm not saying that they're going to go full on down that's the Terrigen Mist and Inhumans angle, but it just seems too much of a coincidence because there was no real reason. I mean, if Black Bolt hadn't turned up, and it would have been Boulder or somebody else, you wouldn't really have missed him. You would have gone, "Oh, it's a shame we didn't see Black Bolt," but nobody would have been surprised that we didn't see Anson Mount as Black Bolt in Multiverse of Madness. He wouldn't have been like, "I can't believe we didn't see him. That was a shoo-in,"
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I'm saying.
Yeah, and they could always say that Inhumans do exist that Inhumans only exist in 838, and that we could see other Inhumans later on, possibly, especially when we get the Secret Wars.
I just think there's some sort of, I don't know, something else going on.
Breadcrumbs?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Or they could just be on the moon with Cap.
We also saw. Oh, go ahead, Andy.
No, I just said definitely, definitely on the move with Cap. That's 100% what's happening.
I was going to say we also saw her get more costume pieces. It's like she's always getting important costume pieces for important people. So she got the vest from the Red Dagger Elder. I can't remember his name.
It began for W, didn't it?
Yeah. I can't remember his name though.
No. Anyway,
then Kareem gives her his face mask for probably might be her scarf or another way part of her costume. And then her mom picks up the broken necklace that looks like the lightning bolt that goes down the middle of her costume. But I don't know. I could see them also making that a K for some reason. I don't know. Instead of a lightning bolt, that could be Waleed. Thank you. I think that's Jamie. Waleed. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it.
That was the name. Waleed was the name there. Thank you, Jamie. But I could see them making that lightning bolt a K in the MCU. I don't know, even though we've seen the graphs or all the marketing so far has been the lightning bolt. I can see that be changed to a K after this next episode or during this next episode when we get her in her full costume. Comment here from Roxy, or I'll go say she didn't know much about the partition until I watched Miss Marvel. So learning some history there through Marvel.
No, I mean I did kind of know it happened, but I couldn't really tell you much about it. I mean, I knew roughly when it happened, but that was about it. To be honest, I wouldn't say I know much more about it now than what I knew about it before.
in a way, it's similar to how Watchmen taught a lot of people about the Tulsa riots.
Mhm.
They didn't know about it as part of that show too, as well. So kind of parallel to that.
Yeah, for sure. I can't remember what I was going to say now about the costume.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. It was.
Was it about the costume, the K, the lightning bolts?
No, I've got it now. I've got it now.
Okay.
So two things. I think again, just to reiterate so you think that the target audience that they're going for, mainly, those kind of younger, that younger audience, I guess, with this. Obviously, it still, interests us old men, which is a bit weird, but but the younger audience, and they playing computer games, that's exactly what happens. You pick up pieces along the journey, don't you? And you complete your look or your loadout or whatever it is that they call it these days. But yeah, so I think that's really, really relevant to things that happen now. But no, what I was going to say, I'd be interested to see if anybody gets fooled by that mask. Like, who's this person?
Like in Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds and what's her name? His now wife.
Like Blake Lively.
She's like, I can tell it's your cheekbones. Just because I can't see your cheekbones, not I don't know who you are. Type of thing.
I'm trying to think of any other, identity, secret identities that are that. Obviously Spider-Man.
Clark Kent.
Yeah, the glasses. He puts glasses on. And everybody's like, we don't know who Superman is. Like, like.
Just this massive hunk of a man.
With
glasses. Yeah. But I'd be interested to see if that does kind of hide her identity at all.
Jamie, Robin. That's a good one.
Yeah, Robin, yeah. What about in the MCU currently, though? Is there anybody in the MCU that wears a sort of a silly mask?
I gotta think.
I can't think of anybody. Obviously, like I said, Spider-Man hid his identity, but it was under a complete face mask, so nobody could see him at all.
I mean, you got the half helmet from Danvers that she wears. It's a half helmet.
But again, still everybody knows who she is. She's not got a secret identity.
Which, speaking of Danvers, are we going to see her or Monica Rambeau in this next episode? Or someone from Sword show up?
Yeah, I'm leaning less and less towards that we'll see Carol. I don't think we will. I think maybe in a post-credit scene we might see Monica
at most.
Yeah,
I could see possibly. Someone goes Daredevil. I think it's Roxy. Roxy goes Daredevil. Covered Superman. Yeah, Daredevil. Yeah. I could see them doing something similar to what they did at the end of Shazam with Superman, where we kind of see Superman, but we don't see Superman. All right, we don't see the face, we don't see anything like that. I could see them doing Carol Danvers like that in this movie. I don't think we're gonna have Brie Larson, even though Brie Larson and Iman Vellani were both in Disney Paris for the opening there. So I don't know.
Yeah,
they were shooting in the same area for this series, and then they said that someone said that they shot in Jersey, that potentially Brie Larson was there as well before the series started. So
you never know. Maybe we'll see him.
Sorry, it was her stunt double. I'm sorry, it was her stunt double. It wasn't Brie Larson.
What if that scene of her sitting on the street light is her looking up and Captain Marvel like floating in front of her or something, and that's like the post-credit scene? Like it's like Captain Marvel lowering down in front of her to like talk to her, and that's where it cuts before you ever see Brie Larson's face.
Yeah, you don't actually see her. You just see her feet come down like this, and then it cuts. Yeah. Her face, yeah.
And Kamala's like in awe, like she's finally getting to meet her hero, and then jaw drops in scene.
Yeah.
So two things I noticed of the series as well. Ant-Man has been mentioned almost, I think, every episode, and so has Bon Jovi. If we don't get one of those two in the final episode, I'm gonna be disappointed. Or if we don't get Scott Lang in a post-credit scene, because think about it, Kamala's powers, at least how they're explained in the comics, she pulls from other versions of herself. She pulls from the multiverse pretty much. She does time travel. All that's been pretty much established through the quantum realm for the most part. So there has to be some kind of tie-in here with Scott Lang or Ant-Man or some reference with the post-credit scene. Something. The other one is Bon Jovi, right? They've mentioned Bon Jovi in every episode of this series. Even last episode, Noni says that Kamala's mom almost ran away at 17 because to follow Bon Jovi, right? So there's got to be something. Roxy here says she thinks we'll see Captain Marvel.
How?
You could see her with the helmet with the helmet on.
Yeah. How will
Not-
we see
yeah,
Captain
yeah.
Marvel? Explain it, Roxy. Where
Yeah,
and when?
elaborate. But yeah,
Um,
so if we don't see something like that, because all these connections, Carol Danvers, Scott Lang, Bon Jovi, give me something, because it's been a constant pretty much the whole series.
Yeah, maybe we're all looking in the wrong direction. You know, we're all sort of sitting there thinking we're going to get a Captain Marvel cameo. Maybe we'll get a Scott Lang cameo.
Yeah.
I know this is kind of terrible, but I kind of feel like they're going to make those bands like the quantum bands, and they're going to
Yep.
link that to the quantum
Quantum
realm.
Realm.
And
It has to
that's
be.
going to be that connection that they're going for, because like you said, you know, in every episode, from like murals on the wall of Ant-Man to passing lines about Scott Lang never aging, like, you know, like,
Podcast.
yeah, his podcast, I mean, like, he just keeps getting name drops, so there's got to be some tie there.
Yeah, I think you there's certainly something in there, isn't there? Definitely.
And
Would
then-
it have something to do with Young Avengers, maybe? You know,
Cassie, like,
Cassie,
you know, like we thought about Hawkeye. I got a daughter, you know.
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But I mean, also, I think with this would also probably put Kamala in somebody like Kang's sights too, if you know, like if that
TVA
holds
shows
true.
up.
Yeah, so I mean, that would be funny. At the end of this, TVA just walks out. You're being pruned now, but but no. Like, in all seriousness, though, like, this kind of puts her in the same boat as America Chavez too, because they're kind of in that messing with the multiverse kind of thing.
So could we see Wong show up then? Because remember at the end of Shang-Chi, we had Wong, Banner, and Danvers. With Shang-Chi, that was also an artifact. So could we have Wong show up at the end of the series, since we're having these artifacts now?
Yeah. Could potentially happen. I mean, and actually, having thought about that, that kind of does make more sense now that we might see Carol, purely for the fact that she's investigated something that's got that ancient signal that's been sent out. Have they timestamped Miss Marvel yet? When is that happening?
Right now, it's the latest in the.
It's the very, very latest.
Besides Thor: Love and Thunder, it's the latest in the MCU.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. I didn't know maybe whether that was going on at the same time as Shang-Chi.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like, the bands sent out a signal to the rings, which communicated back and forward. Maybe, I don't know, but anyway, my point being was that Carol is investigating these ancient things that send out a signal. So if they're going to be the same, because we know there's the 10 Rings connection where they found the bands, etc., are they talking to each other, the rings and the bands?
And then remember how we talked about Phase 4 with identity, acceptance, that kind of stuff? That series so far has covered this well, and that identity acceptance has also helped bring her family together. Because think of how fractured her family was, especially on her mother's side of the family, right? Her mother didn't want anything to do with Thenoni, her mother, you know, the grandmother, because of the stories she would tell about her great-grandmother and the partition night and that kind of stuff. Everyone thought she was crazy, drove her mother away to come to the U.S. And then her mother didn't want her asking any questions about the past, wanted the Bengal to go in the attic, you know, was always kind of like on her because of all this. And now that she's finding out that she's Nightlight, that, you know, they're all kind of closer together now as a family, and they were showing pictures of her mom as a child. You know, her mom wants her to come live with them in Jersey now, all that kind of stuff. It's like they're coming together now because of this identity and acceptance.
Yeah, like you say there, she's accepting who she is. Yeah. Anything else before we wrap this episode up, guys, on Miss Marvel? What are we expecting in next week's finale?
Personally, I feel like we're probably going to get that Department of Damage Control set up where they're doing some nefarious activities, maybe trying to like weaponize superhumans and things like that for their own accord. I mean, it kind of seemed like originally they were there to kind of scoop and clean up the mess left, but now it seems like they're getting into the militant, the militant almost style business of they're trying to track down superhumans and things of that nature. So I feel like they're like a secondary villain here, but I feel like they're gonna probably be the main setup. Like, we'll probably have some sort of resolution between Kamala and Cameron at the end of the next episode, and maybe DODC is going to be set up causing some bigger issues down the road. Maybe in Secret Invasion, maybe in She-Hulk. I mean, they could be anywhere.
I think we're going to see them in She-Hulk because I think that same Supermax is the same prison we saw in She-Hulk.
It looks like it.
Roxy says she wants to see the father on the next episode. Is this Kamala's father or Kamran's father?
Oh, I want to see Kamala's father in every episode. He's hilarious. He's brilliant. He's a great guy, isn't he? He's a great guy. I just want to be friends with him. He just looks like a really cool guy. Yeah, I think you're right, Alex. I think we'll see Damage Control at large, and I think that it will again. I think Jaren's right as well. I think it may set up some things that could happen in She-Hulk as well.
Rock says Kamala's father, so she wants to see Kamala's father, which we all do.
Yep,
so.
I agree. Right, let's wrap this one up then, and we're going to give ourselves a little break before we come back live to talk about Thor: Love and Thunder and review that movie. So if you are listening live at the moment and you haven't seen that movie, then don't log back on, because we're going to be talking about it in depth, but we will make sure that we give people plenty of warnings if we're about to say something really killer. But it's been a pleasure, lads, to talk about Miss Marvel and the latest news, and I'll see you in a bit. Go on, Joe.
Here's an odd post-credits. Kareem in New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
They're setting up next season. That's my one last thing. So
okay, all right, we'll hold you to that one. Right, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, guys, and we'll be back just after 10:30 for our Thor: Love and Thunder episode. If you're not listening live, then we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.
See you guys.
Why don't you tell them about the time we faced
All right. Well, as I remember,
at Avenger headquarters?